Well, hello out there. This is Sam Kilmer, Managing Director of Cornerstone Advisors and your host for the FinTech Hustle. I'm coming to you almost live. This is going to be recorded, so it's not live, but it sounds better to say live. From beautiful Lake Tahoe. We are on the Nevada-California border, living large here, but talking about FinTech. And I have a couple of FinTech rock stars who have joined me for the conversation, to continue the conversation that we've had here at the AFT, Association for Financial Technology Conference, here in Lake Tahoe. And so let me introduce my rock star guests who will be telling us a little bit about some of their perspectives on life. First of all, we've got Tori VanCura-Rutland, who is the Chief Growth Officer of HC3. And then we have Tyler Brantley, who is the Vice President at Core 10. And I'm just pleased as punch to have them. I should also point out that Tori is a board member of AFT. And Tyler is a first-time attendee at AFT Summits. So he's a VIP. How could I miss that? Anyway, so they're going to have some differing perspectives because Tori's obviously a veteran of the cause, and Tyler is the resident newbie, one of many resident newbies. So he's going to be able to tell us a little bit about that. But why don't we just kick this off by I'll just ask you guys to tell us a little bit about your day, like the day in the life. What's the day in the life of Tori look like? Like back home when you're doing what you're doing. What's it look like in the world of FinTech for you in your day in the life?
Well, thank you. And first, I have to thank you for the hat. I'm a lover of hats, and now I have a FinTech Hustle hat. So thank you. So a day in the life of a growth officer, the shortest person at HC3, by the way. That's right. Is really understanding what bankers, what their needs are for their consumers for understanding financial wellness. So HC3 is a statement provider. So we really want to understand how we need to relay that transactional data back to the end user, whether it's a consumer account or a commercial account. And so there's a lot of conversation with clients to understand how we're performing, what they're getting out of our tools. And there's a lot of conversations with fintechs to see what we can leverage to add more information about financial wellness and how consumers can better understand their spending habits. And statements, historically, we didn't have online banking, right? And so statements were the way that you could go, here's my check register, here's my bank's, accounting. Does everything line up? And so today, that's maybe not the best use of a bank statement. There's probably more it can do. And since it's a required communication, how can we partner with key fintechs to provide back those greater details about wellness, spending habits, categorization, all of those things? And we've got a lot of great partners that we've met here at AFT, so it's been great.
You do that and take text messages from Kara Parkey and Matt Dean and all the rest of these hooligans that are. I know you guys are keeping busy on doing all kinds of threads back and forth on your ideas for events, right? So you have to deal with that every day, right?
Yes, it's actually really fun. We joked about it. One of the things you don't know when you're running for the board is that there's a very big board chat, and that chain starts as soon as your name is called out. We start adding you to a new chat. So I was on the Cara Bears chat, and before that it was the Golden Board with Jeff Harper as the president. And so now we're on the Dean's list since Matt Dean is president. And we do lots of texting back and forth because just like it's important for us to understand what the bankers want for their consumers, making sure that our AFT attendees, our membership's getting what they want out of the association is very important because this is really driven by the association and the membership.
Good stuff. And so what's a day in the life of Tyler Brantley? What's that like, Tyler?
Day in the life of Tyler Brantley. I'm at Core 10, and we're a combination of a product and a services team. And so I spend a lot of my time talking with our customers, talking with our partners, trying to figure out how do we take that intersection of products and the services side of supporting bankers, credit union team members, and other fintech partners at the end of the day to deliver a unified experience. And I think that's really where we see our biggest role and biggest way we can contribute to the space is bringing technology into situations and helping connect ecosystems for folks.
Very cool. You guys are both really busy people. I'm wondering, amongst the last 2 days here, AFT, has anything here at the event, any one or a couple things, that has like really popped out at you? Like, I don't know, something you heard somebody say in the hallway, something on stage. I'm just always interested what just sort of conversationally pops to people. Is I don't know, Tori, if anything jumps out at you.
Yeah, it's a great question because I had, we were all listening to Tron one time, talk about he's a futurist and he's talking about AI, and to hear at a community of my peers that we could be a utility, we could be seen as something that's really very essential, but not a segmented part of our sort of financial community was really interesting because I was like, we're not a utility. We are so much more than that. But I started to question what will we look like in the next 10 to 15 years. And I think that created some good conversation. I think we're all kind of like, that's a big question mark. But I really loved what he said about, AI is going to be what we make of it. It's driven by the people behind it. And I think that's something that we have to remember, that we need to understand what consumers need and what financial institutions are, where the gaps are, and help drive the AI in that direction. And I have to say, I'm a huge fan of Greg McKeown and just essentialism. If you haven't read any of his books, I'm a big fan. Come find me.
Excellent. Good stuff. So 1 vote for AI, second vote for essentialism. Yes. And Tyler, anything pop out at you?
Yeah, I'll build off what Tori said about essentialism. Greg McKeown was wonderful. His concept of focusing on the 10% and saying no to the other 90. I think in fintech, you have a lot of problem solvers. We have people that like to solve puzzles, right? And so we have this tendency to try and step in and be all things to all people. And that can spread us way thin, right? And ultimately set us and our customers up for failure. And so that was a really positive and powerful message from him, reminding us, hey, focus on really the main thing you need to be doing. And then some of the other breakout sessions yesterday around partnerships and how do we work together, reinforcing that to say, hey, look, you don't need to be all things to all people. You need to do what you do really well. And then that's part of the ecosystem that, as a first timer, I've just been amazed here at AFT that they foster is partner with the other people that can fill your gaps, right? Find the people that can complement what you do, bring them to the table, to your customers, to your other fintech partners, and solve it that way. And I think if we can focus on that, that's what we're taking home, is reinforcing that message.
Well, good stuff. And I normally don't go negative early, but I'll no, this is not the body slam round or anything. I was just curious, if there's one thing in fintech right now that you think is not working particularly well, whether it's in market activities or product activities or, I don't know, banks, credit unions, fintechs, just anything out there, anything come to mind to you is just like, you think it could work better? It could be improved. Tyler, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I've already gone to Tori first the last couple times, so I've given you a little bit of breathing room there. Yeah, anything pop out at you?
I keep coming back, and maybe it's just because it's so relevant for us right now, to that partnership piece of making sure you're not trying to be all things to all people. It's truly a disease that we have in fintech, I think, sometimes. And I think the challenge when we try to solve problems for FIs as fintech and as fintech companies, we oftentimes will come in and be very prescriptive about our niche piece of what we're trying to solve without thinking about the bigger picture. And I think that truly sets the FIs up for failure, sets us up for failure as a fintech partner. And I've seen a lot of that, right? Trying to drive value for the fintech, get a better valuation, get returns for your investors, all that kind of stuff. Ultimately, at the end of the day, if we really want to change the industry, we need to be thinking more holistically about how we work with each other.
Good stuff. Tori, what about you? Anything you think could be better?
Yeah, I definitely agree on that topic. There's a project manager that lives in my heart always. And so understanding what that entire workflow is for data and for the consumer experience is really important. I also just touch on, I think Liz High said it today in our marketing session on, when she was focusing on how banks need to think like a brand and not a bank, that partnerships need to happen. We need to work through each other. And I think that's really, really important. I think a lot of times we're carving out our own piece, like, well, this is my piece and that's your piece. But like, how do we connect and how can we help these banks think like a brand, and what is their brand experience and how do they need to leverage us and not be scared of that conversation? Because I think it could be very impactful and take us to the next level.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I'll just, I'll go ahead and double your shout out to Liz High. I thought she was great. I also thought, and I liked her examples of Jill Castilla, Citizens Bank of Edmond, and also and what they're doing with Roger, meaning the whole niche thing. I'm still a big believer. I get it. Niches have kind of gone through a down cycle with concentration risk and whatnot, but I'm still a big fan. And also, her co-author, Allison Netzer, shout out to Allison. She's actually been a guest on the podcast. That's my gratuitous shout out to prior guests. Sorry about that. To the victor goes the spoils on that. Sorry about that. But anyway, okay, so we went negative a little bit. Let's go positive. What do you think's working real well in fintech right now? Is there anything that pops out at you that you think, it's firing on almost all cylinders and is really rocking? Anything jump out at you? And I don't know, this time, Tori, I'm going to put you on the spot first, but it's okay if nothing comes to mind. I just thought, let's just keep it real.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think there's a lot of things. I mean, I think while there's a challenge of partnerships, like, again, getting all the right connections, I do think we are talking more openly. And I think through events like AFT, right? And Bank Director has AOBA, where we're having these opportunities to talk and think together. And I think that's going to start progress towards more innovation for bankers. I think the more we stay engaged with bankers and each other and keep those conversations going full circle, we'll continue to develop. And I think it's happening. So you can't say it's a bad thing. It's really great. And I have to, again, like, there needs to be more out there, I think, for fintechs to come together and talk about this and to solution, because if we want to have a future and we want to drive that future, we need to have those conversations and keep them going.
Yeah, Tori kind of hit exactly what I was going to say on the head as well. I mean, I'm super encouraged. Once again, first timer, newbie here. We are starting to see a trend of intentional interactions between partners, and that's encouraging to me. While we might historically have operated in these silos, and we've seen the proliferation of tech across all these niches within the space, people are open to conversation. So that's encouraging to me, that we now see the value of partnerships, see the value of looking at the big picture, the entire workflow. So I'm super hopeful that we've got a great path forward.
Yeah, I was reminded. I was at lunch today, and I think I was with you, Tyler, and you were chatting with somebody. And I think the term came up was friendly overlaps or something like that. So we were having this discussion about. But the point is that in some ways we've all started. It's like everybody's in. Seems like almost everybody is gravitating towards some type of account origination. Like it's like every digital banking provider, core vendor, payments vendor, everybody has a new account checking origination with debit card onboarding and hopefully, digital onboarding. But it's, to me, what's amazing about it, since everybody's competing in that one little sliver, it doesn't mean that we all have to be like, sharpening our knives. Yeah. In an environment like this kind of proves out to me that people can sit down right next to each other and say, yeah, okay, we compete, but you know what? Here's 3 or 4 areas where we can still lift each other up as human beings. And that's pretty cool. Like not everything renews my faith in humanity, but boy, that does, when I see that.
Yeah, and I'll call it out, that exact conversation. I was sitting with Matt and Hallie and Trey from Trabian, who directly overlap with some of the services work that we provide at Core 10. But we're able to have a very open conversation of, okay, hey, what are you guys seeing? What are you trying to solve? And this is a big enough puzzle that no singular company or no singular group of individuals is going to solve this, right? And the more we can come together, even as competitors in this case, and collectively try and provide a better outcome, I think everyone wins. And so, once again, huge plug for AFT, obviously. Once again, I'm just riding the hive the first time.
There's no plugging on here.
No plugging for AFT, but it truly is. When we can create more forums like this, when I can sit down with Matt and Hallie and Trey and have that kind of open conversation, and we both walk away saying, oh, I've heard that need recently, and we don't do that piece of it, but you do. That's encouraging for me, once again, truly.
Yeah. Tori, anything else you'd add? Or
No, I agree. And I think it's also, and I've learned this a lot, and I'm still practicing mastering it, but just listening to one another. I think there are a lot of smart people in the room when you're at AFT or at talking to other fintechs, and listening to what they're hearing and that shared knowledge, and really, instead of listening to argue or say, oh, this is what we're doing and this is why, but really going, well, what's the why? And leaning into that. I'm learning so much more by that approach with my peers. And I see so many of us doing that with one another, that we really want to understand, well, why are you doing it that way? Or why is that your answer to this question? And I think that's what's going to move the needle. And it'll be really cool to see, what's going on in 5, 7, 10 years with fintech.
Yeah, there's a lot of variety here. And it a little bit reminiscent that there's the receptions that's kicking off. I'm keeping you guys away from very important networking time, so I want to be mindful of your time. but they've moved from AC/DC straight into Mirage era Fleetwood Mac. So there's a lot of variety here, both in the music as well. And I should also point out before I let our audience go that Jeff Harper has agreed that we're going to try to put together an AFT Outpost event live from the Bourbon and Beyond Festival, Music Festival, next September. So mark your calendars. That should be fun. I ran into Tim Daly from Q2 there at the festival, was it last weekend? And that's all seems to be running together, especially when the festival is about bourbon, but it's mainly music. Okay. But I just wanted to say thank you guys for joining me and just sharing some of your perspectives on the industry. And couldn't thank you enough. Tori VanCura-Rutland from HC3 Chief Growth Officer, and Tyler Brantley, Vice President of Core 10. And I just want to thank our audience for joining us on FinTech Hustle. See you out there on the road.